Hello, welcome back to the channel. And today I'm going to do something that I've not done before, and I'm using a different camera, so hopefully that works reasonably well. Last night I went for a meal with a friend to a pub. It was about 45 minutes away from home, so a decent amount of travel, and I took the e-Niro, and there was snow predicted. So although there wasn't snow on the way, by the time we'd finished the meal and I was leaving for home, the car was covered in some snow. It wasn't like thick, major blanket of snow, but it was significant. And obviously I cleaned off the windscreen and what have you so that I could drive. But I just started out driving as normal and everything was fine, just had to be a bit more cautious on the roads. But after a little while of driving on sort of faster A roads and the motorway, I got a warning on the dashboard. Just wanted to do a little bit of a video about that warning so that other people can pick up on that if they've not seen it before, and be aware of it. It was reasonably intuitive to me because of other videos I've seen and people describing how these things work. I sort of could figure out what the warning meant and tested the theory, and sure enough I was correct. Anyway, stay with me and I'll just explain a little bit more about what went on. As I mentioned in the introduction, there was a warning on the dash. There was actually two warning symbols. So there was the symbol that was quite specific, and there was also a warning triangle with an exclamation mark. And I'll put a screenshot up on the video here now. I managed to capture a screenshot when I pulled over, and just explain a little bit about what I did. So I'd been driving and the snow was coming down. It wasn't like tons and tons of snow coming down, but it was constant, and I was driving into it. And basically the warning meant that the smart cruise control would no longer function. So when I tried to engage smart cruise control, I got a warning on the dashboard that said conditions not met, which is something I've seen before. If, for example, you try and engage smart cruise control and you're not actually moving, then you're going to see that same warning. It's a generic sort of, I've not met all the conditions for the system to function and therefore I'm not going to work. But this was the first time last night that I'd had that through no particular action I did, and it was basically the sensor was covered. When it was safe to stop, I pulled over on some quiet roads and had a quick look at the car, took a photo as well so I could put it in the video, and there was a layer of ice across the sensor on the front of the car. Probably most owners that have got the e-Niro will know that this is the sensor in question, but as I say, there's going to be a photo here. So if you're not sure what it is, this is what it is. And basically I thought, well, before I clear it, I'll try an experiment, because I was fairly certain that the active cruise control that uses that sensor and the automatic regeneration mode would also use that sensor, because they're very similar features. So I put it into I put it into automatic regen mode, and the car did in fact let me do that, to my surprise. So the legend changed from the normal static whatever level you're on of regen to the word auto. Again, a screenshot there for you. And I thought, well, there's no real way it's going to function, but I will test it just to sort of try and convince myself. So on a nice quiet road with some parked cars, very, very slowly, I approached some of the parked cars and sort of wanted to see, would the system not react as my expectation? So I'm expecting it can't function and won't function, and obviously there's a point at which you're going to have to brake if it doesn't. So I very carefully approached some parked cars and convinced myself that it's not going to function as you'd expect. If cruise control can't function with the activity stuff, then the smart sort of regen mode can't either. So although the system said it was in auto regen mode, effectively it wasn't, as far as I could tell and trust. So I wasn't going to trust it, and obviously that's essentially what that legend on the dashboard is saying. It can't function, don't trust it, you're on your own. Arguably in winter conditions, you know, you don't want some of the automation to kick in and be unpredictable or less responsive because of conditions under the tyres, on the road, etc. You know, visibility maybe in some respects. So you need to be more cautious in winter conditions. And although we're only still in November, last night we did get enough snow that it, you know, was beginning to be a bit wintry. And I was more cautious driving slower on some of that untreated roads, because I don't think the gritters had been out and I don't think they treated the roads. Although the snow was predicted, I don't think really they'd had much chance to gear up this early in the year. And for those that aren't in the UK, typically in the UK we're not using winter tyres because generally the weather's not bad enough for long enough to make that worthwhile. Some people use all season tyres, but a lot of people generally, you're just going to have a summer tyre on in the UK, and therefore when the conditions are not great, you do tend to have to be a lot more careful driving because you just don't have the grip. So I was being more cautious anyway, but it was interesting that I'd had this feature trigger, and I thought, well, I'll do a little bit of experimentation, try and learn how the feature works a little bit more directly. So I tried the smart cruise control, that didn't work. I tried the automatic regen, that seemed not to work and I wasn't going to trust it. So then I pulled over again. Oops, squirrel there, nearly hit. Pulled over again and cleaned off the sensor. It wasn't completely rock solid frozen ice, but there was a decent layer of a few millimetres of ice on the front there. I don't know if you'll be able to tell from the photograph I took, but I cleaned off the sort of rectangular sensor that's on the front there, and then thought, right, if I get back in the car, it should realise that that's what I've actually done. I kind of expected as soon as I started off moving that it would clear the fault. It didn't. It took a minute or so of slowish driving, so I don't know whether that was a time-based thing, distance travelled based thing, or that the sensor had begun again receiving information from its, you know, activity. But either way, it cleared relatively quickly, but not instantly. I started off. So once it had cleared, cruise control was happy to re-engage, and the automatic regen seemed to behave itself. But I was nearly home at that point, so I didn't muck about. I just basically got myself home and I took the photos I took, and you know, it was all done. But I thought it was worth making a little bit of a video so that if people stumble across this before they have the issue, great, they might learn something. Or if people have that warning and they start searching for what does it mean, then maybe they'll come across this video and see a bit of an explanation. As I say, I thought the little icon legend was reasonably self-explanatory if you think about what it shows and what might be happening because of snow. Then, you know, it should be reasonably obvious, and my guess was correct. Anyway, I hope that's useful to somebody. So thanks very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, all the usual things, and I'll see you on the next video.